Shalom, my name is Yoshua Yaakov. This video is being made from Jerusalem. I'm an American citizen that lives in Jerusalem for the past 22 years. I'm a convert to Judaism from Christianity in general. I'm a didactic scientist, which is a fancy word for self-educated, self-taught. I'm very impressed with listening to the scientists from the Czech Republic. One of my mentors was Eugen Lobel from the Czechoslovakia, who was imprisoned by the Soviets with the infamous trials in '54, the Stalinism's invasion. He was the former head of the state bank. Anyway, he was my mentor. And he's the author of a number of books, one of which is Humanomics. And now, the purpose of this video, I enjoyed very much listening to your views and opinions. I want to suggest to you that there is a misconception about Judaism, and it's really very straightforward and simple. In our tradition, religion, and the Torah, the ones closest to God are the leaders of the Jewish people, and that began with Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. And even the Prophet Muhammad acknowledged the fecundity and wisdom of that principle. But having said that, let us move on to the most significant event of the millennium, and that is the end of the exile of man and mankind. And the context is the misperception of Judaism, which is this. You said there's Jews, and if you're not a Jew, you're not one of the chosen people. Well, that is a misconception, and the reason I cite this as the context for announcing something very important that is next is this. In exile, if you're not Jewish, you're not a part of Judaism, and generally that's correct, and with all of its exceptions that do accept and are inclusionary, they're really in the minority, and they're not significant. It is only in the redemption that Judaism is inclusive, because what comes through Israel in the redemption of man and mankind is inclusive to all mankind, to Muslims, to Christians, to everybody, to all humanity. There is no Russian, Czech, there is no Christian, there is no Jew, there's no Muslim, there's mankind raised up. And specifically for that to happen, we have to have the end of exile. Well, it began, the end of exile, in finality in 1991 with the collapse of the Soviet Union, December 25th, 1991. The next year, Yugoslavia, communism collapsed there, and it came to Israel, the murder of Rabin in 1995. The local reality collapsed, which was its Zionism. And what was the local reality that collapsed in all of these places and sense around the world? Giving to receive. I give, I get. And what replaces it? Kabel b'shvil atet in Hebrew. In English, receiving to give. Receiving what? Receiving the authentic you. To give the authentic you. To who? To you. To your wife, your children, your family, community, nation, and the world. That is the law of redemption that is universal to all man and mankind. Now, in physics, if you collapse the local reality, you have the quantum reality. However, Israel's denial, and in turn mankind's, is blocking the ascent of man to inhabit the quantum reality in general, and in particular terms, receiving to give, which is the redemption. That is where we are. Now, let us be very specific and be mindful of the events. Both Islam and Christianity are about to undergo, and they have this in common, I might add, with Judaism. All three will undergo, and more, the whole of mankind, every religion in the world, will undergo a fundamental transformation derived from the collapse of the local reality. And what do? It's on four levels. It's on the psychosocial, the cognitive, the psycholinguistic, the cognitive, behavioral, and psychosocial level, or in the reverse, psychosocial, behavioral, cognitive, and psycholinguistic levels. And it applies to individuals, families, communities, nation, and the world. This process was confirmed with the collapse of the Twin Towers that confirmed the end of the duality of man universally that blinded him to his authentic self. He existed in giving to receive as a behavioral man. The collapse of the Twin Towers signaled the end of behavioral man, of man and mankind's exile, and the beginning of the quantum reality of receiving to give, which is cognitive man. And the subsequent ascent requires deconstruction of ground zero in our individual, our family, community, and national, and the lives of all mankind. That is where we are. There is fundamental and enormous and very great change coming. I'm a didactic scientist. My particular interest is in cognitive behavioral science. And science, as you know, is done by two methods, empirical and logical. I first observed the collapse of the local reality in 1991, and I didn't quite understand what I was observing. And in 1992 and in 1994, 2001, 2003, to the tsunami, and then, whoa, when the God of the cosmos, the God of Allah, the God of Israel, speaks, it's very humbling. We listen. And the truth of the Qur'an is the truth of the Torah, is the truth of the Christian Bible. They converge when there is but one God of man and mankind. There isn't a Muslim God, there isn't a Christian God, there isn't a Jewish God. And the notions and the constructs of exclusion are now being yielded in history as absurd as all religions, all nationalities converge in the post-collapse of the ground zero. Both East and West models have collapsed: communism and capitalism and democracy. And the result is humanomics in general and its two paradigms: receiving to give, kabel b'shvilatet, which I spoke of earlier. That's the Hebrew for receiving to give, which is the new cognitive behavioral science first principle, which is the central organizing principle, and the new economic paradigm, the integration of labor. Those two paradigms combine to provide Humanomics, which is by the way, Humanomics is a book by the Czech author of blessed memory, my mentor, Eugen Lobel. That's where I first understood, the term and the meaning. Okay, having said all of this, we're in a world of very, very great structural fundamental transformation, and the net result is going to be the unification of man and mankind in the divine plan that raises man up and redeems man and mankind. And every one of us will have, on some level, the psycholinguistic, cognitive, behavioral, psychosocial level imposed upon them ground zero, which compels deconstruction of ground zero, deprogramming, restoration, and healing on the individual, family, community, national, and the stage of all mankind. This is where we are, and I was thrilled to listen to you speak. I thought it was a marvelous, marvelous speech. Your story and my story converge. We're one. We have really at the bottom reductionally the same observations, the same conclusions. There is but one God, and that's the God of the cosmos, and his law is one law. And the convergence to the middle of East and West, this is where we are and where this is the future of man and mankind. And so we wish you and all our blessed Muslim brothers, kabel b'shvilatet, in English, receiving to give, receiving what? Receiving again, the authentic you. To give the authentic you. To who? To you. To your brothers, all your Muslim brothers, your Christian brothers, your Jewish brothers, to you, to your family, to your community, to your nation, and to the world. And this is the essential goodness of of Islam, of the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. We thank you for listening. I'm Yeshua Yaakov, Harav Yeshua Yaakov from Jerusalem, and thank you and blessings in receiving to give.